Welcome to More Than. I'm your host, Kevin Carroll, powered by First Tech Federal Credit Union. So my first guest is Christa Stout. You should know that she is the Senior Vice President of Innovation and Technology for the Portland Trail Blazers NBA basketball team, but I call her a friend and a co-conspirator in elevating the community for good. And so I welcome you to More Than, Christa. It's so wonderful to see you and to spend some time with you. And why don't you give a little bit of your background? Like, are you from Portland? Did you move here? What is it? And I know that you have family here, but what's your background? How did you end up here in Portland?
First of all, thank you for having me. I'm so happy to use this as an excuse to hang out with you because it's been way too long. I'm from Portland originally. My parents are actually from Eastern Europe and both immigrated to New York, New Jersey, California, Portland. So my brother and I were born here, raised here, and then I left after high school to go to college on the East Coast. I ended up working abroad in international development for a while, went to business school, and came back. So I grew up in Portland, left for 10 years, and have been back for 12 years.
And then when you came back, you originally didn't work in the basketball area.
I was at the Timbers, yeah.
You were with the Timbers, which is where we met.
Yes, exactly.
Right? And you were doing phenomenal community outreach and the impact. And I think you kind of laid a groundwork here for a lot of organizations to recognize how they could impact the community in unusual and unexpected ways. And I know that that's what drew us together because,
Yes.
I've been a part of the Sport for Social Change, movement, if you will, the global movement around that. We found out about our mutual love for that. The work that you were doing was really inspiring to me. And so that's how we got together. And that started our whole relationship and connection.
Yes.
Was that our common belief that sports could change the world.
Yeah, the power of sport.
The power of sport. But then you pivoted to the Portland Trail Blazers. Mm-hmm. And so when you first started there, what was your role?
Senior Director of Social Responsibility and the Executive Director of the Trailblazers Foundation.
Your day-to-day when you were doing that, what did that entail? Pretty much the same things?
Yeah, and like we've discussed, basically figuring out how we could use the power of sport to impact lives.
And then somehow a change happened.
Yeah.
So this is where we get to this interesting conversation around tech. Yeah. So tell me, how did that happen that you made an internal pivot there?
So I'll say it was sort of gradual. I just was, got the opportunity to take on new and different departments over time. And then it was sort of a more gradual thing versus one day you're doing this, one day you're doing that. So even though my career has kind of looked insane in hindsight, the common thread was sort of what was I doing? I've always been driven by building something, creating something that adds value. The something depends, right? When I was in Columbia working with Mercy Corps on gender-based violence initiatives through sport and social change, that was doing that, creating that program, scaling that program to create value for Colombians and society. In South Africa, it was with the Desmond Tutu Foundation. Wherever I was, it was always about creating a program, creating an initiative, creating whatever to add value to society, kids, fill in the blank. Fast forward, what I'm working on now is how am I building an initiative, a new partnership, a new strategy to add value to our fans, our employees, or our bottom line. So it's the same theme, which is what are you creating, building, developing that's going to add some kind of value somewhere? It's just what the thing is and who you're adding the value to.
And so, and what you're using, right? What is the tool, right, that you're using? Because maybe for the power of sport was a very different set of tools, right? Arrows in your quiver around that, but the intention stayed the same.
Yeah.
But the tools have changed. Have you always had a
Yes.
curiosity around technology?
Yes. I think that people get really intimidated by the words tech and innovation. And so, first of all, to me and even to the MBA, I think one of the most basic definitions of innovation is creating something that adds value,
Yes.
right? So this is why that theme throughout my life is oh, this actually makes sense when it
Yes.
comes to innovation. It's not, what is this new big shiny thing that's disrupting everything? And yeah, that's absolutely a type of transformative innovation that's important, but it's not innovation, right? Mm-hmm. Even just using the adoption of Apple Pay or using telehealth to talk to your therapist or whatever, through the pandemic, people were adapting to and becoming more comfortable with innovation constantly, right? Long answer to your question, but so yes, tech has always been interesting to me, but not in the like, I have to have the newest iPhone, I have to have this and this.
Yes.
It's more, again, like we discussed, when I was in Boston, we were running a nonprofit for kids in the US and abroad to provide access to sport. And, we were trying to figure out like what tech solutions can we use, because it's free, it's global, it's whatever, to figure out who the people are that need something, what do they need, and how can we get them money. So the tech piece of that was interesting to me because it was a mechanism to impact. Now, when we're thinking about it at the Blazers, it's how, especially coming out of the pandemic, how do we make sure people have contactless ticketing, contactless mobile ordering. During last year, it was a digital vaccine verification to, it's like all these things are just a different way to use tech that, again, if you don't overcomplicate it, just can make life a little bit easier and make the experience a little better for fans.
But also what you said was constantly adding value to an experience. And we actually talked a little bit about experience design. And so when you look at technology, just for the sake of technology, I mean, you're just flexing then. So we can absolutely vet these things and look at these things, but if they're not adding value, we don't need them. And so we don't need to chase everyone else. Maybe they do need that for their fan experience, but our fan experience is the specificity and the way that you look at it.
And through the filter of, is it adding value to our fans that will make the experience more seamless for them, more accessible for them, more fun for them, more memorable for them, whatever it is. We have certain pieces of our fan experience where like we will get complaints or challenges or whatever. So it's like, let's find those pain points, whether it's parking, whether it's whatever it is. And that's where we can find, okay, what is the right parking solution that's going to help alleviate that pain point? So people know that the garages are full before they get there, right? Like I think about the innovation matrix that I think Harvard Business Review did a really good one that lays out the sort of core innovation, so exactly what we're talking about, adjacent innovation, which is slightly, maybe more new to your company, and then transformational innovation, which is like new to the world type of innovation. And the way that we sort of break that down is like at least 80% of what we do is around core innovation. I mean, yes, we did an NFT last year, which was fun and exciting and interesting, but that's not where we're spending 180% of our time.
The other thing that I was thinking about when you were just sharing that was, how can you be noise reduction?
Like in the market?
Yes, so for your fans, right? So if you're decreasing noise so that they can fully experience the basketball environment and game and all the things that you present to them, right? To give them a memorable experience, you all are really endeavoring to be noise reduction, Bose headphones, if you will, right? Like you're trying to reduce noise, getting to the venue, right? All those things. And so if you can actually avail that, they're having a more seamless entry into your space.
Right.
To then take it all in, all the other things that you've created for them from the, game day experience and all of that. But if they've got noise and angst and worry and concern and they're coming in and they can't settle down, they miss out on so much. As you are now in this role, and I loved how you actually debunked that innovation and technology, right? So stop like worrying when you hear that, because it does feel intimidating to a lot of people, those two words. But the way that you kind of broke that down in its simplicity, right? Adding value and using the right kinds of tools to add value. So always going back and forth to that. How do you stay curious around these things? Do you have Google alerts that you've set up? Do you have different things that your team of people around you? I'm sure you're probably small and mighty, your team and stuff, but how do you all stay current and on top of the things so that you can evaluate what you want to be working in?
Yeah, well, to your earlier point about noise, there's a lot of noise in this space, right? Like in the last couple of years, no one having any idea what's happening or when it's going to happen. And so a million new companies that are coming at us with this vaccine thing and this, that, or whatever. There's a lot of noise to dig through to get to the good stuff, right? So I have a great network of people who are phenomenal and just are super smart in this space. I'm on the Team Innovation Advisory Council for the NBA, so we have a great network of folks. We send each other interesting companies and whatnot. I actually just got off a call today with someone from Kevin Durant's company, 35 Ventures. So it's like just having that network of people that are like smart, dialed, at the forefront, are looking at like what to invest in and why. it's just like check-in conversations. What are you hearing? What are you seeing? There's been some really, really cool stuff that we've gotten demos on the last couple of weeks that, to your earlier point, it's like, how is this adding value to the customer and also like to historically marginalized communities, right? Like if I can combine like my background in innovation, there's some really interesting opportunities there. So yeah, I mean, honestly, it's just staying connected to smart people that know what they're talking about, and then podcasts and books and podcasts all the time.
Books and podcasts all the time.
Yes.
All the time. Yeah. And I would imagine, there's also this variable, and I always like to talk to people about their energy. It requires a lot of energy to stay curious, to be where your feet are, as I like to say, be present, to be able to see the opportunities. And so do you have a regular kind of practice of your energy and the things? I know that, I see different things on social with you. You're an outdoors person. Is that am I making
fair.
an assumption, or is that fair? Is that fair? Right? And so
fair.
I know that you enjoy being outside. So do you have a regular regiment around your energy to make sure that you show up with the requisite energy to be able to identify opportunities?
It's really funny you say that, because I was just talking to a mentor of mine about this and how we need to like audit our energy at the end of the week and say, okay, like when I think back at my week, what gave me energy and what drained my energy, and how do I, knowing that staying curious and interested and learning is like such a core value and is so important to me and gives me energy, how am I auditing and then creating space for that? So I'm trying to be better about doing that. I will say I get made fun of from my colleagues because my number one question in every interview is, when you're at work, what gives you energy and what drains your energy? And I learn more about people from that question than from like 90% of the questions.
And it's also a good way to vet, would you be a fit?
100%. People are like applying for a data engineering job, let's just say, I'm making this up. And they're like, yeah, I hate just sitting at my computer all day, and I just really like to like be around people and talk to people. And I'm like, your job's going to be sitting in front of a computer all day.
So why did you?
Why are you even in this industry?
Yeah, why are you even in this industry?
Right.
Yeah, like that diametrically
Very
opposed
concerning.
things, right?
Or
Yeah.
you're not self-aware. Also concerning. But tell me, like for you, same question. How do you audit your energy? And
So I know movement's my mojo. Like I know that about myself. And I also like to do it. It's more meditative for me. So I'm not training for something except for the day, for life. So I'm not training for a 10K or marathon or all that. I'm training for the day. So I like to get up early because it's quiet. And I like to train early in the morning because it's like meditation for me. And so no one's going to call me. No one's going to send a text. It's early enough. I think that's always something I've understood about myself, that movement really is critical to me. And I think, for a lot of the people watching this episode, energy is it's social currency. It's so important to recognize your energy and how you show up and how people receive your energy or not.
Or not.
Or not.
Same with how you do or don't receive other people's energy.
Facts, right? And so the more that we start to understand that about our energy and the way we show up, but also the energy that you surround yourself with or choose to surround yourself with, it really affects your ability to come up with new ideas, novel ideas, have creative confidence, all these things that are being asked of you in the role that you have, but also in leading your team and being a thought leader within your organization and with other teams. So energy and curiosity for the win. Like that's my thing, right?
Yes, for sure.
I truly believe that. And when you are up against something challenging, it also gives you confidence. Like, you know what? I can navigate this difficult moment.
This week I got up before the kids woke up and worked out. And same thing, it's like I maybe only had 15 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever, and it's like hammered it out.
Right. You have this kind of inner confidence that I created a habit and put a discipline forward.
Right.
And I was willing to do that. And maybe it's only just shifting 15 minutes. It doesn't have to be that dramatic.
But it's 15 minutes I'm working out instead of scrolling my phone in my bed. Yes. And to bring it back to whichever book it is, it's part of your identity, right? Yes. I am the kind of person that gets up in the morning and works out, not the kind of person that sleeps in or scrolls my phone for an hour.
Right.
And it's like that mindset shift is huge.
And I go back, and I love you that you used mindset. So when I think about my mindset is the beginner's mind, right? And openness and eagerness, right? To see an opportunity to learn something every day. And so that beginner's mind serves you well because we go back to curiosity, we go back to this idea of innovation and technology not being intimidating words because you have your foundation. Am I adding value?
Yeah. And to your point, the curiosity and the importance of mindset is the only reason I was able to say yes when I got this job offer, right? Because I knew that the answer wasn't, yeah, I know everything about innovation and tech, because nobody does, right? But the answer was, I can learn, I'm curious, I'm excited about it, and I'm open to growth and figuring out sort of how to be the best I can be in this role.
Yes, honestly, and the ultimate goal, if it's always that bedrock of did I add value, go or no go, audit or grade yourself at the end of each day or the week, it's pretty easy to look at what did I do all week?
Right.
Has it been advancing something? I talk about little wins or micro wins, right? And looking at stacking those.
Those are energizing too.
Yeah, versus...
Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're not. But versus being overwhelmed by this big, hairy, audacious idea, BHAG, and like, oh, am I ever going to get to that? No, you just kind of chip away at it. And the more that people understand how to manifest an idea, the better. And technology is incremental. I talk about us as human beings always being, actually, I believe we're the greatest app ever created. And we're so quick to update our apps, or they get updated automatically on our devices, or we're told to update them. Why don't we stay in beta as human beings?
Right.
Even more so because this innovation technology, you would appreciate that idea of if we're iterative, right? And we're looking at new iterations of ourselves. And this pandemic changed everyone. Everybody's a 2.0 version now, right? Everyone got updated and changed, whether you wanted to or not. I just think it's a fascinating moment to actually think about why not stay in that mindset
Forever.
forever.
Yeah.
And so as you start to think about what's next, first for you as an individual contributing to this community, and then from your professional standpoint, since you're from here too, so Portland is, you know this city. You went away, but you've always had a connection to it. And what do you personally hope for with Portland? Because I've adopted this. I've been here 24 years, so this is my city. I still got my Philly roots. I didn't show you. So look, so I have this jersey.
That's a really large jersey.
Yes, so they actually used to, when I did some work for the Blazers, and if it was...
2010?
Yes, if it was noteworthy, they actually would send you as a thank you a jersey sewn by the woman who sewed the players' jerseys.
Oh.
And it was like a thank you, and now you're part of the team.
Was that in 2010 you did
Yes.
something?
Yep.
What did you do?
I was actually brought in to do some work with the leadership team,
Oh,
and we
wow.
did an offsite together. One of the things that was surprised, like when they sent this to me, I'm like, oh, they had told me the stories about the jerseys.
Oh, and then they gave you one.
And then they gave me
Oh.
one. As I think about me being embedded in this community and trying to help elevate the community in my own way, I know that you have, your families here, your efforts here within, the city of Portland. What do you see as an opportunity personally and professionally that you want to keep putting your energy towards?
That's a big question.
I know, I like big questions.
That's a big question. So if I'm being really honest and transparent, this week really shook me when it comes to like living in the States in general.
Yes.
And what we not only allow, but just like very much promote. I literally like heard the news about the shooting in Texas and went home and like finished our application to get our EU passports for our kids.
How about that?
So, and it's not that I'm like not a fighter or whatever, and I'm here to fight for it, but like I don't know what my role is in fighting for gun control. There's like a piece of me that's like, when you look at the fight, flight, or freeze, like with this stuff, it's just like very overwhelming. And I think about flight.
Yeah.
So at this point, like today is a weird day to ask that because I have, a kid in elementary school and I'm like just devastated for a million reasons for that community. And I think, my husband's family's from here as well. We're very lucky. We have a lot of family and support in town, but one of his sisters lives in Morocco. He and I have both lived abroad. It's, a ton of my family is still abroad. And so I do sort of see us potentially living abroad again. And then, this week was a bit of a kicker for me on that push. That said, Portland's home, and it's been really hard to see kind of how the city has just been struggling a lot. And it's just been struggling. So I don't know what my role is in that yet. personally and professionally? I guess it's a good question. I still need to kind of figure it out.
But think about, I'll kind of answer a bit for
Please
you.
do.
Because it was a leading
Great.
in a little bit of a way.
Fantastic.
Because I do think you're already doing it because of the work that you do with sport. And so, as we know, sport is one of the most amazing and powerful convening tools, and it allows communities to heal. And I think that the work that you're doing to create seamless experiences that are memorable, that add value, and yes, it's a small offer, but it's an offer. And I think that if you continue to do that work on behalf of, the team that you are working with, the Portland Trailblazers, but for the community that you're supporting and working with, I think you're doing as much as you can. And I think that's the key, right? That each of us just do our part and repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat. And then if you check on each other, which I think is the other key thing, is checking on each other. Are you good? Can I count on you? And to be honest and say, hey, I'm struggling today. Okay, then how can I help?
Yep. It's a great point. It's a great answer. And I think that's kind of what I'm counting on. And I think one of the key values for our company is inclusion, and it's a lens through which we look at everything. And so when we think about sport as a gathering place, as a powerful place to create memories and bring people together, one of the people on my team, our director of customer experience, became a finalist or a semifinalist for the NBA's Innovation Challenge. So of like the many hundreds of people throughout the league that submitted ideas for this like new innovation challenge they did, he's one of like the top 20 people, top 20 ideas. So I was going through, and I get to be a evaluator for the semifinalists, and his idea is about exactly what you're talking about, which is, why is it, like, we know so much about our fans, why is it that when we get Kevin's information when he buys a ticket, that he can't tell us, hey, I have a kid coming that has some sensory things, like, can you make sure that we have some stuff set up ready for him when we get there? We have all that. We have the ways to make it a more less noisy, literally, more inclusive experience. And so like we're trying to figure out, and I love Matt's idea around it, is like we just need to connect these dots and like create a more inclusive and more memorable and more impactful environment for our fans.
And I think if we can actually look at how can we create a concierge service for everyone. It's not exclusive to the VIP or courtside.
Right.
And maybe it's only a little thing like that.
Right.
That's all that it takes, and so I think that could be really powerful.
Which, especially, you do something like that through the app, and that's innovation, that's technology, and people are like, oh, it's not so scary.
It's not so scary, right? And in fact, it's actually, solution-based, and it's actually providing me with value. If there was anything that you would like to say to an aspiring person who'd want to get into the world of innovation and technology, especially young ladies, do you have any simple truth or something that would inspire them to keep going? Would you have any words that you would love to share?
I feel like that's been sort of the subtext of the whole conversation, which is like it's just another thing you can do. It doesn't have to be scary or intimidating. I mean, I think it's hard to get into sports, it's hard to get into tech, it's hard to get into innovation. And you don't have to be like the number one expert in all of those things to get that job. And so start somewhere, reach out to me, reach out to whoever. There's tons of amazing women on our team that are developers and coders and IT specialists and all kinds of things. Starting to build a network and reach out to people that are in the space, I think, is always important. And not being intimidated, believe in yourself, know you belong, know you add value. I just saw a chart about Fortune 500 companies run by women, and over the last 50 years compared to run by men, granted it's only like 6% sample size, and they all outperform, right? Like they all outperform those run by men. And so it's like, we have to like remember and remind each other and remind ourselves that like there is a place for us, and it's additive. It's not tokenizing and whatever else.
That word you use, additive, right? Goes back to value add, but it's an additive, it's a plus.
Right.
And I think the more that we recognize that it's a plus and that there is a place for you, and you just have to keep going and keep believing, but also you can't do it alone. And so how do you find your tribe? How do you find that network? And they're out there and it's available. And so you don't have to do it feeling like you're this individual contributor, right? This army of one. There are others out there like you. And so you have to start setting up your search and your network and those things on social so that you're seeing the people that are
Yeah.
doing the work that you're aspiring to do.
Yep. Absolutely. Even I just had an informational with a young woman who is phenomenal, but I like showed her on LinkedIn. I was like, you can like just set up alerts for this stuff. And she was like, oh, wow, that's great. I'm like, yeah, you'll learn more. You apply for stuff. You get networked with people. And to your point, there's great networks that exist, like Women in Sports and Entertainment, WISE, Technology Association of Oregon, TAO. What's the one you mentioned? Women in Tech.
Women in Tech.
Yeah, like, and again, these are more Oregon-based,
Yeah.
but there's tons of different networks. And what I have been very humbled by, in my experience, especially as a newer person in this space, is how welcoming and open and encouraging women are with each other in this space. I think I assumed, and you're a competitive person, clearly. I think I would have assumed more of like a competitive spirit, especially in sports and with such limited numbers. But it's like such a welcoming environment. I have this amazing colleague Andrea, who is every time she hears an opportunity with women in sports tech, she's like, Christa, you got to do this. Christa, like she's just, it's like, how can we grow the pie, not try to like steal other people's slices?
Because we can all eat. It's abundance versus scarcity.
Exactly.
And it's that mindset.
Mindset.
It really is that. And I think the more that we can have individuals like yourself modeling that, because I think that we have to see ourselves in that role before we can believe we can be there.
Fair. Representation matters.
Representation matters, and you have to see yourself in that role or hear your story at least. And so the more that we recognize that, just keep doing the work and keep showing up and have the discipline and add value. That's a good day. And then grade yourself at the end of the day or the week, audit, right? Evaluate and adjust as necessary, but keep fighting the good fight. And I truly believe that. Christa, I appreciate you and your time and your energy. I
appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Yes, and you all heard it here first. Do not be intimidated by the words innovation and technology, right? They are approachable, and if you are interested, it's available. And so thanks for tuning in to More Than, powered by First Tech Federal Credit Union. My amazing guest, Senior Vice President of Innovation and Technology, Christa Stout. Thank you so much, from the Portland Trailblazers. And I thank all of you for tuning in. Be well, Godspeed, game on.